Ayan was only 22, but life had already pushed him harder than most people twice his age. He came from a small town with big dreams, hoping university would open doors for him. Instead, it felt like every door was slowly closing. In the same month, both of his part-time jobs ended. One shop shut down, and the restaurant he worked at reduced staff. Suddenly, he had no income, no backup plan, and his university scholarship was paused due to a paperwork error he couldn't get fixed. His rent was late, his phone bill was overdue, and he was surviving on small packets of biscuits and tea. Every morning, he walked through the crowded city wearing the same old shoes, searching for new work. But every manager said he didn't have enough experience. He felt invisible. One evening, tired and hungry, he sat on a cold park bench with the last half sandwich he had saved from earlier. He hesitated before eating it, knowing he might not have anything else tomorrow. As he stared at the ground, lost in worry, someone's shadow appeared beside him. When he looked up, he saw an elderly woman standing there. She looked around 70, dressed in a clean, elegant coat, her silver hair neatly tied back. There was kindness in her eyes, and her presence felt calm and soothing. "May I sit here?" she asked softly. Ayan nodded quickly and shifted to make space. She sat down slowly, as if her bones were tired, but her spirit was bright. After a moment of silence, she glanced at him and smiled. "You look like you've had a hard day." Her voice felt warm, like someone who understood pain without needing an explanation. Ayan didn't want to share his struggles, but somehow her gentle tone made him speak. He told her he was a student, trying to survive. He told her about losing his jobs, his scholarship issue, and how he was barely managing. She listened quietly, without judgment, only nodding from time to time. "My name is Millionaire," she said at last. "Life can be cruel, but sometimes the right people cross your path at the right moment." Before she stood up to leave, she handed him a simple business card. "Come see me tomorrow. I think I can help you." Ayan stared at the card long after she walked away, unaware that he had just met a 71-year-old millionaire who would change his destiny for. The next morning, Ayan woke up early, still unsure whether yesterday had been real or just a moment of kindness that would fade away. He stared at the business card again. The address printed on it seemed far beyond his world, an upscale neighborhood he had only seen in magazines. Part of him feared it was a prank, yet something about Elina's calm confidence pushed him to take the chance. With hesitant steps, he took a bus toward the address, gripping the card tightly as if it were a lifeline. When he reached the destination, his breath caught in his chest. In front of him stood a massive mansion surrounded by towering iron gates and tall trees. Security cameras watched silently, and a neatly dressed guard stood at the entrance. Ayan almost turned back, embarrassed, certain this place couldn't be connected to the gentlewoman he met. But before he could leave, the guard approached him politely. "Are you Ayan?" he asked. Ayan nodded nervously. "We've been expecting you. Please come in." The gates opened smoothly, and Ayan walked inside, feeling as if he had stepped into another universe. The driveway was long and lined with flowers he had only seen in pictures. The mansion itself was breathtaking. Large windows, white marble walls, and a garden that stretched endlessly. Millionaire was sitting in the garden on a wooden bench, feeding small birds from her hand. She turned and smiled as soon as she saw him. Her smile instantly erased some of his fear. "I'm glad you came," she said gently. "Sit with me." Ayan sat beside her, still confused. She explained that she lived alone, that her health had slowed her down, and she needed someone to help her with daily tasks, manage errands, read documents, and accompany her for walks and visits. She offered him a job as her personal assistant, with a salary far beyond anything he had ever earned. For a long moment, Ayan couldn't speak. He felt a rush of relief, gratitude, and disbelief, "Why me?" he finally asked. "Because you're honest," she replied, "and because sometimes people deserve a chance, even when the world doesn't give them one." Ayan accepted the job with trembling hands. Days turned into weeks, and he settled into his new rhythm. Eleanor was patient, thoughtful, and surprisingly funny. They shared long conversations, meals, and moments of quiet understanding. A bond began forming, unexpected, gentle, and undeniable. He didn't realize it then, but this bond would soon change his life in ways he never imagined. Weeks blended into months, and Ayan's life slowly transformed in ways he never expected. Working for Eleanor didn't feel like a job anymore. It felt like belonging to a world of peace he had never known. Every morning, he would help her organize her schedule, read the newspaper to her, prepare tea, and walk with her through the rose garden she loved so dearly. She listened to his worries about studies, encouraged him to continue his degree, and even arranged a lawyer to fix his scholarship issue. For the first time in years, Ayan felt seen. But one evening, when he found her sitting alone in the dim library, her hands trembling slightly, he sensed something was wrong. She looked up at him with tired eyes, the spark dimmer than usual. "Ayan," she whispered, "I need to tell you something important." He sat beside her immediately. "I have a heart condition," she said quietly, "something the doctors can't fix. They say I may have a few years, maybe less. I didn't want to tell you until I was sure you wouldn't run away from me." Ayan felt his chest tighten. He had grown close to her, closer than he had realized. She had given him shelter, respect, and warmth when he had nothing. The idea of losing her frightened him more than he wanted to admit. "Why would I leave?" he said softly. "You have done more for me than anyone in my life." Her eyes filled with tears she tried to hide. For a long moment, silence filled the room. Then she spoke again, her voice shaking slightly. "I don't need a nurse, Ayan, and I don't need charity or duty. I need someone who genuinely cares for me, someone who doesn't look at my age before my heart." She paused, her hands clasped together. "If you choose to walk away, I will understand. But if you choose to stay, stay as someone who stands beside me, not behind me." The meaning of her words hit him deeply. She wasn't asking for help. She was asking for companionship, trust, and something far stronger than either of them expected to feel. Ayan took her hand gently, his voice steady. "I'm not leaving." In that quiet library, without a ceremony or witnesses, something changed between them. Their bond deepened into love, unexpected, unconventional, but real. And from that night onward, Ayan stayed by her side not because she needed him, but because 2 years passed gently, filled with moments Ayan treasured more than anything money could ever buy. Eleanor's health slowly declined, but her spirit remained steady, warm, and full of quiet strength. Ayan stayed by her side every step of the way. He read her favorite books aloud when her eyesight weakened, held her hand during doctor visits, and cooked simple meals when she no longer had the energy. In return, she filled his life with wisdom, affection, and a level of peace he had never known. Their home echoed with laughter on good days and soft conversations on the difficult ones. Ayan knew time was slipping away, but he chose not to count the days, only to make each one meaningful. One cold morning, Ayan entered her room with a cup of warm tea, only to find her lying peacefully with her eyes closed and her hand resting gently over her chest. She looked serene, almost smiling, as if she had drifted into a dream she had long been waiting for. Ayan froze, the cup trembling in his hands. For a moment, he hoped she would open her eyes and greet him like she always did. But the stillness in the room told him the truth. Eleanor had left quietly, just as softly as she had entered his life. Days after her funeral, her lawyer asked Ayan to visit the office. Instead of reading out a will, the lawyer handed him a sealed envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter from Eleanor, written in the delicate cursive he loved. She thanked him for giving her the happiest years of her life. She said he gave her companionship, youth, hope, and comfort. Things money had never been able to buy. She told him not to grieve for long, but to continue living with the same sincerity that made her trust him. Then came the part that stunned him. She had quietly transferred most of her wealth into a foundation under his name, dedicated to helping poor students struggling with education and survival. She wrote, "Use this gift wisely. You were saved so you could save others." Ayan cried for hours that day, not because he suddenly became wealthy, but because of the depth of her love and trust. Instead of living a luxurious life, he poured his energy into the foundation. He built scholarships, housing programs, and small food centers for students across the city. Every year on her birthday, he visited the rose garden she loved. Sitting among the blooming flowers, he would whisper, "Thank you, Eleanor." Her love had lifted him from hardship and shaped him into a beacon of hope for thousands.